Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today as we look at searching the staff catalog in Evergreen, Indiana. What is available to us? What might be useful in searching for material, whether it's for ourselves, for like collection maintenance, or helping search for a title for a patron. We are going to look at all of that. I used these resources to help build this webinar today. What we will be covering today. First, we are going to look at search preferences. Also look at how to actually access the staff catalog. I notice I have a tendency to forget to include that in the actual slide deck. We are also going to look at all the different ways we can search in the staff catalog, how we can understand the results, the different aspects of what pop up during after we have searched. We're going to look at the recent searches and templates options that are available to us to maybe help save us a little time. We're going to look at the bib record itself, the different parts of what we view when we click on a title from our search results. And then we are going to look at baskets, which I will always find fascinating and amazing. Search preferences. There are a couple ways that we can customize the staff catalog at the workstation level. And actually, before I get into this, I do want to go back into the web client and show you where you can access the staff catalog. So we are on the portal page. There are a few ways we can get to the catalog. We can use this basic search immediately. Just start typing in your keyword search and click search. It's going to take you to the staff catalog. We have this advanced search button, which will also take us to the staff catalog. Under the search top navigation menu, there is a search the catalog button. And then finally, under cataloging, which is where maybe most of the catalogers find it, there is the search the catalog button here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So this is what the staff catalog looks like when you first load it. You have different tabs up here, which define the type of search you are making, format filter options for the terms you are using for this particular search type. So in this one, this is a keyword search. Over here, we have the ability to narrow down results by library, and then we have a few other options here that we will go over, just like the search preferences right now. So you can access the search preferences from this button, which is underneath the library selector drop-down button or drop-down option. When you click on it, it's going to open the preferences within the white space of the screen or just below this area right here. And just a quick reminder that any set search preferences will be saved at the workstation level, not the user level. So if you log in at different computers that have different workstations registered, you will need to set these at each workstation. So your first option is the default search library. Besides being the default search library search from the advanced cataloging search or what will appear in this library selector dropdown, it will also be the default for the basic keyword search available on the portal page. If you remember that quick basic search field that you could start a search right there. We always recommend setting the default search library at the highest level, which would be the consortium level or the EG-IN. So if you are searching for something, this will show all of the records or titles that you may not have, but that are available in the entire catalog. The next option is the preferred library. So the preferred library is what will show copy information on each search result, regardless of the actual library searched. We'll go over a little bit more on what I mean when we talk about how we understand the search results. The default search pane is what designates the type of search you want to pop up when you access the staff catalog. By default, even if you don't have anything selected here, it's going to open the keyword search. So if you don't care that the keyword search pops up by default. You don't even have to mess with this. You can leave it blank. If you prefer it to be one of the other search types, this is where you will change it. Search results per page just allows you to change how many results you see per page of results. The default, as in if you leave this blank, will be 10. You can make it however large or small you want. I prefer to see more results per page, just means less clicking between pages. So I like to go like 25, maybe sometimes even up to 60. Just reminder, the more you add, the higher the number, the slower it might be to load those results. Um, this is something we don't really have to worry about as much anymore, the exclude electronic resources button. But what this does is this enables the option to exclude electronic resources from the main search form. So this doesn't actually check marking this doesn't exclude the resources automatically. It just enables you to check mark that. And let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go into the staff catalog. We're going to go to my search preferences and show you what I have set up so far. So right now I have the default search library at the top at the consortium level. I was playing around and making work updating these slide decks, and so I changed my preferred library to West Lafayette. So when I perform searches and see my search results, I will be able to easily see West Lafayette copy information. I do have my default search pane as keyword search, but you can blank that. You can just leave that blank. Search results per page, I have 25. I'm just going to go ahead and increase that now to 50. And when I click out of that, you see it automatically saves. There's no save button, it just saves. And then this exclude electronic resource button. See, when I check mark this, now we have that new or added exclude electronic resources button. This is where we will enable that filter. But I'm going to go ahead and just uncheck that because now it's just kind of in the way. So from here, you can actually start a search. If you go to your preferences after you've performed a search, if you click return, it's going to take you right back to your results, refreshing if you made any changes. Or you could just start a new search right here at the top. So as you saw in the staff catalog, we have several ways that we can search the staff catalog. So the first one we are going to look at is the numeric search. So what is the numeric search? This allows us to search for the exact item using identifying values. So the ISBN, the UPC of a DVD, the ISSN, which I believe is used for magazines, the Library of Congress control number, which is assigned to all items that are cataloged within the Library of Congress catalog. The title control number, which is specific to Evergreen, Indiana records. It's kind of like we have it's kind of like an ID. It's each bibliographic record in the catalog has its own title control number. And then you could also search for with a specific item barcode. Why you might use this, it could be easy to use or easy when you have the information. So you don't have to, there are no filters needed to find exactly what you are looking for, especially if that person is looking for that specific edition or release of that title. And catalogers are probably more likely to use this when adding to your library's collection. It's one of the options that they can use. All right, so let's take a look. And I'm going to bring back my story that I used when I first set up this webinar. So when I was younger, I loved the movie The Count of Monte Cristo. I thought it was amazing. And I wanted to read the book that the movie was based off of. And so I did a little research. It was actually originally released in French, so I needed to find a good translated version. Well, after some Googling, I found that the best translated version, according to the internet, of course, was the version translated by Robin Buss. So I was like, I want that copy. So we will say I come up to the desk and say, I want this copy of The Count of Monte Cristo, the one that was translated by Robin Buss. Now, we could do a keyword search by, Count of Monte Cristo and maybe another keyword search by with Robin Buss. But we have the option to do this ISBN search if for some reason the patron has it in hand. You never know. So I'm going to type in the ISBN. The And immediately, or with very quickly, it brings up that one record that we have that is for this specific edition. And if we were to click into it, of course, and maybe go to staff view, we might see a little more information about it, or if you are um, how you are with mark information. You can see translated and with an introduction and notes by Robin Buss. This is the exact copy that I want. So now I can either grab it from the shelf or request it through to transit. So that is an option to do a numeric search. Go back into the Next, we are going to look at Mark Search. So what can we use Mark Search for? This also might be used more by catalogers, but if you are familiar with how established headings for like subject, genre, name headings are, this might be useful. So what can we use it for? We can search for a specific tag located within a MARC record. And each tag in a MARC record, it's a three-digit number, um, correlates with a specific type of information. So, for example, 245 is for the title statement. So that is where you would find the title of the book. The 655, like here in this example, this is for genre headings. So we might look for a specific genre heading in a MARC record. So this is why it might be useful. Again, you might run into issues if you aren't familiar with the format of the established heading. We say that because we use authorized headings and established headings in our MARC records for consistency. So if we type in an example, horror fiction, all of the titles that are horror fiction with that genre heading will show up in the search results. The downside of this search option is that the results will only appear if they actually have this tag in the record. So, for example, we might have Stephen King's Pet Cemetery. But if it doesn't, and we know it's horror fiction, but if it doesn't have the 655 horror fiction tag, it's not going to show up in the results. So that is a downside to the MARC search, but it's super helpful. So let's take a look and kind of show you what it can do. So I'm going to go over to MARC search and let's look for, I'm going to do 655 subfield A because that's where we put the genre information. Let's do romance fiction. I believe that's the established heading for that. And now we have a search results of over 34,000. We can actually use these buttons to add more fields to filter even more. So we could add a subject heading, we could add another genre heading. So let me do this. Let's do fantasy fiction. So maybe someone's looking for that romantasy. And we've narrowed it down from that 34,600 to just 1,801. Again, this only works if the record has both romance fiction and fantasy fiction in it. But it could be really useful if you are looking for specific tags. So the next type of search is the browse search. Allows you to browse bibliographic headings available in the catalog. So title, author, subject, and series. What this does, it also allows you to see what other headings are available in the catalog that are close to your query. So that means that the results will include titles and names that fall before and after your query. This might be helpful. I mean, it just might be helpful to see what else is out there based on name or title. So let's go into the browse. And what I like to do this for, this is where the example of having the established headings or the authorized headings comes in, is helpful. So I'm going to look for Karen Slaughter. So if I were just to type it in, like if we were doing a keyword search, we just type in Karen Slaughter and all of those results will come up. But if we use the browse search for author Karen Slaughter, and I will tell you these browse searches take a little bit because it is looking at a particular area of the record. So we've put in Karen Slaughter, and now we can see what might, where it might show up if it were available in the list. Now, let me go back and put it in as her established heading. And that's usually surname, comma, first name for most English authors. That will change based on the author's maybe home country. Um, so you will want to, you might run into issues with that or a little bit of trouble. All right. So now, and also since we are in that established heading format, surname first, we'll be able to see other um, author names that are close or around our author names. So we can see here there are a number of Karen Slaughter results. And this is due to how it was input in the record. So we can see this one has probably the most. So I'm going to click on this. You can also see there is a see also for the Will Trent series. So if we were to click on this, it should bring up all of the records that are part of the Will Trent series that have that information in the record. So this can be really useful. You could also see maybe title search or subject heading search where it might fall, um, excuse me, close to other things. But I recommend just playing around with it and see what happens. Again, as you noticed, it is a little slow to load. Shelf browse, what this does, it just searches through the call numbers in the catalog. So instead of looking at titles and maybe shelving locations, you are specifically looking at call numbers. Um, I like to think of it as digital shelf reading or just a digital walk through the stacks. Um, it allows you just to kind of see what is surrounding that call number, what is included. So in this example, Miss Vic Rob, my first thought is JD Robb, aka Nora Roberts. But what else in this call number would be Miss Vic Robb? I will note that the shelf Prouts does not work as it really should. There's some buggy things about of like the results being out of order. Um, the community at large is aware of this issue, but I haven't heard anything recently about a fix for it. So let's go into the shelf browse. It is very useful if you go ahead and just narrow this down by library, um, because as we know, libraries do not share the same call number format. So if you just want to do a call number browse at your library, we can do this because I am aware of their format. So let's just put in that Miss Vic Rob and see what pops up. So we do have those results that come before, that would come before the Misfig Rob. You can see here at the top, we have Misfig REI for Kathy Reich. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. Um, A couple others. Let's scroll down a little bit. And here is our first call number with the Miss Vic Rob. You can barely see that it is highlighted or surrounded in blue. And then you can go over. Here's some more Robs. We know there's going to be a lot because there are now, what, 60, 59 in-depth books. Um, so it's definitely going to take a while, but you have these next and back buttons where you can scroll through the results. I just want to get to a page that might show other Miss options. We're almost there. And it should be in order. So we saw like the 42, 43, 44, 45. Because there isn't a zero at the beginning of this, it is treating this as like in the tens. So that is why this is showing up at the end instead of in like the 1 through 10 list. So, okay, here we go. So here we have another Misfit Rob, but it's for Peter Robinson, Linda Robinson, and then we go into the ROO because we have finished the Rob. So I think this is a really useful kind of just virtual walk through the stacks that could be helpful if you're just looking for like authors or just what is in a specific call number range. All right, so keyword search. This is going to be our main form of searching in the staff catalog, most likely. So what is it? So it allows you to search the catalog using various filters, operators, multiple fields. It allows us to search by title, author, keyword. So keyword could be title, author, ISBN, series name, um, anything that could be searched for and found in a record. Pro and con, the search results can be extremely broad or extremely narrow, but it is a really powerful tool. And there are ways to quickly narrow down your results if it does seem to be a little too broad at first. The first thing you want to look at is, do you want to narrow down your search by format? Are you only looking for the audiobook format for titles by Jennifer Lynn Barnes? Do you want to see if there's an ebook version of A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, and so on and so forth? You can choose to search all movies and televisions, or break it down to just Blu-ray or DVD. You can search for CD audiobooks or maybe equipment, games, and toys. This would probably be the easiest way to immediately narrow down your search by format. Um, a search type allows you to choose where you want your query to be searched in the MARC record. Do you want it to search for the title, a specific author, subject, or series name? You also have the ability to search for a journal title, a digital bookplate, which we won't get into today, but it's kind of like a searchable item note or tag, or just a general keyword search. This is optional as you can enter everything in the keyword search type. It just might not search as precisely and give you more than you're looking for. So let's kind of do an example. I'm going to reset my search. So we're in the keyword search. I'm just going to type in, so let's say we are doing a keyword search on the Hunger Games. I know that's in a lot of people's minds right now because they just released Sunrise on the Reaping. Let me reset that to the consortium. So we searched for the Hunger Games. It's going to bring up those records for the Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, of course. But it's also going to bring up any record that mentions hunger or games. Um, you have over 200 results instead of maybe just a possible 80. The same goes for an author search. If you do a keyword search for Stephen King, you get results numbering in the couple thousand. But if you do an author search, you only get maybe around 1,100. I mean, it still sounds really hard to sift through because that's a lot of bib records, but that's why we can combine that specific format type and other search options to bring down a more manageable number. We can expand or limit our results more by using other types of search criteria. These are those contains, does not contain, matches exactly, and starts with. Contains is the default choice when you start a search. These are, you may notice if you have the keyword search type selected, the matches exactly and starts with criteria are actually grayed out. They are available with all other search types, though. So this would help narrow down or even broaden your search even more. We know that some authors share the same name and many book titles have the same title. How can we narrow down the search? We can add more input fields and search multiple types. The plus and minus signs at the end of the input field allow you to add or remove extra fields. So if we click on the plus button, it's going to add a second input field. So I don't believe there's a coded limit in how many you can add on. Um, Though, if I remember, I think there was someone who tested who kept adding more. And I believe the limit they found when the system or when the catalog search started to get a little wonky was 3. So it's probably best to limit your number of fields to 3 or less. And then you can use other, like the search facets, to narrow down the results more if you need to. When you add that second field or third, an and or option will add so you can shape the results you will see. And we'll show both the title and author together, which is pretty narrow, or we'll show the title, author, or title and author, which is obviously broader. Now, there are several search options can be done prior to a search being done or after you've done your initial search. We can sort our results by relevance, which is the default. We can sort by title, author, publication date, and popularity. If you checkmark the limit to available option, it will limit results to those that have items that are in either available or reshelving status. It could be all but one holding on a record is checked out, but since that one item is available, it will show up in your results. Um, If a patron is in need of a specific title and doesn't care what format it is in, or if there are a bunch of same format records with various amounts of available copies, it might be useful to do the group formats editions option. Also, it could be used to help clean up your results a little bit, because this will allow a hold, or more specifically a meta hold, to be placed across multiple records to find the first available copy. So for an example, let's use Diana Gabaldon's Outlander series. So there are print books, regular and large print, audiobooks, television series, and companion books and novellas. It's a very large world that this author has built. If we use the group formats and standards option, we can get 49 results instead of maybe 170, 200 plus. Um, so, so this might be helpful to kind of scrunch in those like records into a single result. If you check mark results from all libraries, it will bypass any preferences set for the workstation if the default library is anything other than at the consortium level or the EG-IN. So let's say we are searching Thorntown's Holding for material with Diana Gabaldon as an author. In this example, we see there are 82 results. But if we check mark results from all libraries, we see that the results amount have jumped to 178 without having to change our default library. That might be considered an easier way to search all of Evergreen without actually changing the search library, especially if you have decided to set your default search library and your search preferences as your branch. It might be easier that way, especially if you're looking for um, titles that you own at your library if your patron's looking for a copy. Now, again, this isn't as um, necessary anymore because we have removed most, if not all. I would say there's probably still some in there, but most of the e-content records from the catalog because we now have Aspen. Um, but what that exclude electronic resources, we enabled it in the search preferences. And so in this example, we have 147 results. Well, when we check mark this option, it's going to remove those e-resource records and change the results to just 87. So if there are e-records still in there, it might be useful. But again, there are not as many e-resource records still in there. Eventually, we will, get them all. Um, but but it's still an option. I just wanted to show it to you in case you ever clicked it and to see what happened. There are even more ways to refine your search to find what you are looking for. Search filters, except for shelving location, pull their information directly from the MARC record. Um, and MARC records are what describe the content and physical attributes of an item in a way that the computer can translate into a readable, person-friendly format. The shelving location list will change based on what you have selected in your default search library. The filters you are most likely to use will be language, audience, shelving location, and maybe literary form. The formats filter will, in the search input field, will help narrow down your results to the format that you need. To view these filters, you can click on these vertical ellipses at the end of the first input field. The filters will stay visible until you leave the catalog or you click these again. Um, to select on a filter list, you will just select it from a particular list. If you want to select more than one at a time, you will select it, you will hold down the control button, and then you will click another one. So let's kind of do that real quick. So let's reset this reset button, which I actually just am showing you right before the slide. This will erase all of your search terms and kind of go back to the beginning. There are some that might not uncheck, but you will just have to uncheck it. So let's say I am, um, let's go back to Thorntown. So I'm clicking Thorntown. If we want to add another field search row, so let's say we are looking for, and I press the plus button to add a second field. We're going to go with author. I'm just going to type in Collins. Now, again, we can click these three dots. We also have a show more filters button here, and that will also show those filters. So let's say Hunger Games. Maybe we'll say we're looking for a DVD, and so we could see shelving location wise that they have a DVD collection option. So I'm select that and search. And we have the results. And then we can, let's say, since we are searching just in Thorntown, let's say results from all libraries. Now, since we're marking this, we will have to click search again. It might take a minute. I'm going to click this to hide the filter. It is still active, but it's now hidden so we can have a little more screen space. Let's try it again. Okay. Okay, I realized what I did. Because I am using the shelving location, even if I select results from all libraries, it's not going to show any other library because no one else has the adult DVD collection Thorntown-THO shelving location. So if I uncheck that, let's try this again. I'm going to uncheck that first. Hide the filters. So we have 5 here, and now I'm going to do the results from all libraries. And now we're up to 36 because now even though we have Thorntown as our default search library or in our top library selector, we have that results from all libraries checked. So we will see all of those results. That reset button, again, will clear previous search results and most of the search settings that you have set. The publication year, this allows you to limit your search results to a specific publication year, before or after a specific year or between years. So between years searches includes results for the years entered and the years that fall between them. So in this image, your results will show anything that was published based on the marked record in 2005, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we kind of already did this a little bit, but maybe let's see. I'm going to change this to font real quick. And let's just see what happens. I'm going to change the catalog field to subject. I'm going to click shark. I'm going to uncheck this because since we are searching the entire consortium, we don't need this. I'm going to click search. All right. So let's say show more filters. Let's filter this by publication year because maybe there's still some shark books out there from maybe 10 or so more years, and we want something a little more recent. So let's say after publication years after, let's say 2021. I'm going to click press enter or search. If it's Oh, I think because it's still loading the original results. It's okay. Let's narrow it down one more to just books. Okay, there we go. So now we are seeing 304 search results for books about sharks that were published after 2021. So we could scroll here. We could even come back up here and sort by pub date, newest to oldest. So then we would have the newest titles first. All right. So next, let's look at how to understand the results. What are we looking at? Because there's quite a bit of information that we can see um, as we look at the results. Give me just a moment, please. Okay. So once you have performed a search, your results will appear below those input fields. We are going to start at the top. Here you will see the total number of results here in the left side. Next, we are able to select all of the results on a page. The show more details option, when you click on that, see if you see the results right now, clicking on show more details will actually add item information to the result. It's going to show the first five libraries that have holdings on that record. Um, Now, this will change. It will look a little different if you set your preferred library to your system and you have holdings on the record, your items will appear at the top of the list. So after the show more details, we go here to the far right, and this is where we can navigate between um, the pages if the number of results is higher than that number of visible results on each page. So that default is 10. If you changed it to 25 or higher, that page number of pages will change depending on the number of results. Next, we have on the left side, this is what the facets that I mentioned earlier. These are headings found within the bib records that can further filter your results. So let's say there are more than two books titled Legendborn, which is not unheard of. So under this personal author facet, we might see two different names similar to what this image shows. Now, this might mean that these two personal authors have written a book called Legendborn, or just the term Legendborn from our keyword search is in that record. So in this example, if we click on Kaylin Bayron's name, see there's at least one result. It's going to take us to the record that is associated with that personal author. We can immediately tell that this isn't related to the original search, but I checked and I opened up this record and saw that under the Staff View tab, that Legendborn is mentioned in the summary of this title. So that is why this title appeared in our keyword search for Legendborn. Um, so next to our facets, we have the actual results. They are separated. They're kind of in their own little gray squares. And each result includes data about the item, number of total holdings, and some edit and record information. So the physical summary includes the title and author, an icon that denotes the specific record's format. So you might see book, large print, CD, audiobook, maybe playaway. This icon will show you visually what type of item what format this item is in. You can also see series information, a call number from one of the holdings on that item, and then you also have physical description, so pagination, edition statements, pub information, and identifying information like the ISBN that you can see here. Except for this call number, all of this information is taken from various fields of the MARC record. To the right of the physical description is a quick view of the holdings count. You can see here in this example that there are 55 out of 75 holdings at the consortium level, so all library holdings on this record that have a status of available or maybe reshelving. The consortium total here will always show regardless of the search filters used and preferences set. Below that you will be able to see your total preferred library holdings. So in this example, I had Akron set as my preferred library. They do not have any holdings on this record, so it shows 0 out of 0 items. Now, if you change the default library, so say, in that library selector, it's going to show that here as well as your preferred library. And I can show you what that will look like. To the right of that, we have that title control number I mentioned briefly when we were looking at numeric searches. These are specific to each record in our catalog. We can also see the number of holds that have been placed on this specific record. So in this example, there's only one hold and will hopefully and likely quickly be filled by any of the 55 items that might be available to fill that hold request. And then we have record information about who created it and last edited the record. And then we have that place hold button, which allows us to start a title level hold. So let's take a look. And I'm going to reset, hide the filters, and we are going to do just a keyword search of John Green. Now, if you remember in that browse search, when we searched Karen Slaughter with her first name and then last name, as a keyword search, this is a lot more flexible. So this will bring up books by John Green, about John Green. As you can see, we have this first title that is likely a biography. Um, So as this keyword search of John Green, we are going to see those results. I want to kind of show you here these facets in action. Um, Under personal author, we can see there are a number of authors that have been mentioned or maybe have written books about or with John Green. This more button, it will allow you to see the rest of those author names. There's a lot. So sorry for the fast scrolling. Since we did a keyword search for John Green, let's see. We have John Green 1977. I believe this is the established heading for his name. We can see there are 65 results. I'm going to click on that. And now we have what's likely just the titles that he has written, of course, in all formats. If we were to click on his name again, since we were using the facets, it's going to take us back to those original results. But I'm going to go ahead and click on John Green again to narrow these. So actually, let's see. I think it's in my head just because, well, I think the third book has recently come out according to Book Talk. So we have Legendborn. As we can see here, remember I have search preferences. I have West Lafayette set as my preferred library. So when we are looking at this result information, we have that physical description, the format, and over here is where we have 55 out of 75 total in the consortium. But at West Lafayette, we have 1 out of 2 items that are available and that there is one hold on here. Let's see what happens if I change this to, let's say, Fulton, or let's do Pike County because I see a Pike County person in here. So I'm going to click Petersburg and search. Now we still have our preferred library set to West Lafayette. Okay, let's see. Let's try Zionsville. They might have a copy. Of course, this example is only helpful if the third library has it. Okay, so now we have the consortium total, which I said will always appear. We have our default library that is showing here. We have it showing the system and branch level. And then we have our preferred library visible here at the bottom. So your preferred library and consortium will always show. If you change the library and the library selector, then that holding information will also show. All right. Before we look at the actual records, I wanted to go and look at our recent searches and templates, these functions that allow us to research our searches and create search templates. So if you are like me and perform a number of searches in succession, but then remember something you might have forgotten to do in a result from a previous search, so you perform a new search of the same search you did not too long ago, you end up performing a lot of searches. There's actually an easier way to navigate those that search history that I, to be honest, always forget about. So this recent searches option, when you click on it, it is going to show the last 10 searches that you performed. It's only going to show the last 10. So if you've done more um, in a session, it's going to drop off and only show the most recent 10. As soon as you click on one, it's going to perform that search again. And it is only going to show the, oh, I think that clear recent searches button will clear all of those searches. You can also, it will also clear if you log out of the web client. Um, so let's go into the catalog and look at my recent searches. So we can see that I searched for Legendborn, John Green, and Shark quite a bit. So let's go back to Shark. So I'm going to click on Shark. And now we have returned to those search results. It is only going to show, so let's say you searched for, oh, what is it? Everything is Tuberculosis, his new book, as a title, and then John Green, an author. It's only going to show, well, I can just show you. I think, pretty sure that's how you spell it. I'm going to change this back to Evergreen. Okay, so I have my recent search, go in here. It's only going to show the top field that you use. It's going to ignore that previous one. So I want to see if we go back to shark and then click back on tuberculosis. It does still have that second field, but it's not going to show here. It's just going to show that top field. So if you have a lot of if you've searched something multiple times, it might not give you the original, like the filtered search results that you might have preferred. But it can be really useful. So I'm just going to click clear recent searches. It's going to ask me to confirm, and it's all clear and ready for your next search. Search templates can be pretty useful if you remember they are there. Again, it's another thing that I always forget is there, but it might be more useful for someone who actually works with patrons directly. So what a search template does, it allows you to save your preferred search fields for ease of use. So instead of going back and selecting all of this information every time, so let's just create oh, I do have one. So we're back. I'm going to go into my search template, title author, click on it, and it's going to automatically bring in the title author, reformat of all books, and I have my sort title A to Z. So that could be really helpful if that is the way you want to do it. We can also go ahead and create a brand new one. Um, let's say we just want an all books sort by um, maybe newest to oldest and keyword search, and we can um, save that as a template. So I'm going to click search templates, save template. We are going to want to name it book keyword or whatever you want to. And then when we see in our list that it is bold, which means that is the current active one. So I click on title to revert to that. If I click on book keyword, it's going to revert to that. I am 80% certain that this is a setting that is also saved at the workstation level, similar to search preferences. So if you have your own search templates that you keep for like maybe your cataloger, then those will be saved at your workstation if that is set up for your cataloging. A general circ workstation, you would probably need to create um, templates again here. What do we see when we actually click on one of those search results, one of those titles? So this is what we might see, or a version of it, when we click on a title from our results. We're going to kind of break it down a little bit. So first at the top is the search form. Monitors come in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes we need as much screen space as we can to view what it needs to be viewed. When we're looking at a bib record, we have the ability to hide this search form, especially if we're done searching and we have found our information. We can hide it by clicking on the Hide Search Form button. And so it's going to minimize this field into just a little gray box and change that hide search for button to show search form. It's going to stay this way until you click it again. So it's kind of sticky. You'll just need to click it again if you need to perform another search. Or you can go back to the staff catalog, like clicking search for catalog. It's just when you are looking at a bib record, when you've clicked on a result, that the search form will be hidden. Next, after the search results form is the record summary. This provides some details about the record that we may have seen in the search results themselves, like the title and author. It also includes a few other details, like the database ID, very similar to that title control number. It's specific to each record in the catalog. We have create information and edit information from catalogers who might have modified the title. Similar to the search form, we have the ability to minimize this information by clicking on the caret. If it's pointing up, obviously it is visible. When you click it, it points down, and now we only see the title, edition, if it's in the record, TCN, and the creator of the record. The results navigation. This is where we can navigate between records within our search results. The start button will take you to the first record listed in the search results. Previous will take you to the result before the one you are currently viewing. If you're looking at the first search result, it will be grayed out because there are no previous search results in the list. Next will take you to the next record. End will take you to the last record listed in the results, and back to results will return you to the actual search results list. These options are grayed out if you access the record in a different way, like from searching via the title control number or database ID. Those are options elsewhere in the web client. Or maybe if you clicked on a bookmarked link to a specific catalog record, like maybe a fast way to access your hotspot record or something. There are some record summary actions that we can perform on a specific bib record, whether it's for cataloging purposes or circulation or maybe some other functions in Evergreen. Patron view, when you click on patron view, it's going to open the title in the online catalog. You can't, by default, it is set to the classic catalog. However, you are able within library settings, if you have local admin permissions and your library has decided to do this and you use your Aspen catalog, you can set it to load in Aspen instead of the classic catalog. It does load the specific record, so it's not one of those like normal grouped search results, but it's going to load in Aspen and then you can move on from there. Place hold will start the hold process for a title or part level hold. It's going to open that place hold function, and then you'll enter the patron information and submit or update notification settings. Add holdings allows catalogers to add new items to their library branch or branches. It will open what's called the holdings editor in a new tab where they will actually add the call number, barcode, and item attributes, which help define how that item is going to circulate and where it lives within your library within Evergreen. So we're going to go to the Mark IV dropdown. There are several options available to us, and we say Mark IV, or it's called Mark IV because we are targeting this specific database ID. Remember, specific database ID for each record in the catalog. And that allows us to target this record for an action. So whether we are overlaying, whether or not a cataloger is overlaying a bad record with a better one to quickly update it without having to manually edit it, we have the ability to transfer title level holds to to this, for example, particular bib record. That could be really useful for hopeless holds. Catalogers can transfer your holdings from one record to another, and then the reset record marks will just empty all of these out. Just want to kind of show you what that might look like. Um, Okay, let's click on here. And so Mark IV. Let's say there's a hold that might have accidentally been placed on the large print, but they want the regular print. So we can click title hold mark transfer. And let me make this a little, maximize this. So when we click on that Mark IV again, it's going to show us what it is targeting. So if we see this number, we can come up here and see that it matches the database ID for this. This is just really helpful, especially if you're doing multiple things at a time. It allows you to make sure you are targeting the correct record. That research record mark will just empty that out and it's ready to be targeted for something else. Other actions, other things we can do with records, we can add them to a record bucket or a classic catalog carousel. Catalogers are able to upload a new cover image. If maybe there is no cover image, you can also start an acquisitions order, the view place holds, and then the clear added content cache. This is useful for when an cover image is being uploaded. Because sometimes when you upload a new image, your web browser kind of gets a little sticky and still shows the old one, but clearing the added content cache should allow you to see the new one that was uploaded. The record views, these options allow us to view different parts of the record, including library holdings and hold requests on a specific bib record. Now, if you've noticed, when you're actually in the catalog, there are more options than what I have listed that I will be going over here. I'm just going over the more commonly used non-cataloging options. So we are just going to look at these options next. So staff view is where we can view a lot of information about the record. We have that publication information, title and author, of course, identifying information, series, subject, genre headings. Um, these links should allow you to perform a new search based on what you selected. Um, and it's an easier, kind of like a non-cataloger friendly view of Mark. So staff view. But this could be really useful if you just want a quick view of the item, maybe see if it's the right like addition statement or maybe get a quick summary of it. Novelist, and I'm going to get into the web client for this, is super cool. This is relatively new. It came from the last update, and last update based on when, depending on when you are listening to this recording, for those who are watching this on YouTube, in November of 2024, during that upgrade, this novelist tab was added. And what that does, it allows you to view series information, similar titles, similar authors to do with the title here. So what might, let's go back to that Legendborn. Okay, Oathbound, that's the new one. Let's click here. If there is an orange star, that means that there is novelist information available for this title. If the novelist tab is missing or it says no or none, there is no novelist information. So I'm going to click on that. So for Legendborn, let's make these a little smaller too. We have series information, so we can see the other two books in this series. If we scroll down more, we have the ability to see similar titles, and if we click on it, that's going to start a brand new search for that title. So we don't have to go up here and enter new search information. We just click on one of these, including that series, if it says find it, to run a new search. So I think that is super helpful. We can see information about similar authors and do a quick search for that author. Similar series that we can scroll through and search for those. There are curated lists taken from novelists. So this one, like must read fantasy or fantasy and science fiction owned voices. Some more information about tags that might have been included in novelists with their story finder. Um, Lexile accelerated reader information, some Goodreads notes. One of the really cool things about this accelerated reader Lexile measure options is this allows us to search for those titles. So let's say this one is set at maybe 5.2. So I'm going to click search. And it might take a while, but it's going to give us a list of titles with an accelerated reader level of 5.2 upper grades. So we can scroll through here. Let's say, well, book one of the Stormlight Archive. I'm going to click find it. And it's going to take us to give us that search for that title. Super cool. Probably is super helpful for those who help their patrons directly. Um, I personally just don't use it as much, but it is so neat and so helpful. Next, what you got, everyone is probably used to seeing by default is the item table. Um, This is where all of the items that are attached to this record are visible in a somewhat easy to view grid. You might also think of it like a spreadsheet. So each row represents a different item, and the columns represent different information for each item. So in this example, we can see where the item is located, their call numbers, barcodes, their shelving locations, that circ modifier, if there's age hold protection associated with the book, if it's a new title, when that item was activated or maybe created, if it's holdable, and the actual status of the item. Similar to other areas, this is customizable using the grid configuration, and that might be really useful because there are a lot of options. Next, let's look at holdings view. This is a more filterable view of the item table. It also allows you to filter by library instead of seeing all of the holdings. If you do a full consortium search, you could filter it by library. So let's go into let's click on this one because I see West Lafayette is in here. So we have our item table. It was open by default. We see all of these other titles. Let's go into holdings view. And if we have here, we are looking at the consortium level so we can see all of the titles. Now, if we switch this to West Lafayette, now we can focus on just their holdings. So catalogers and some circ staff can edit like the status, mark things as damaged. They can maybe look at hold information, things like that. So this might be helpful. And they can also add new items from this tab as well. Next one that, and one that you will probably use Not as often as the item table and staff view, but pretty often, probably more than the other tabs, is the view holds tab. This is going to allow you to see all of the holds, whether they are suspended or active, on a bibliographic record. You can manage your holds, you can retarget them, and just look at what is available. This example isn't super helpful because there's only one hold, so let's find one where there might be more hold requests. Double checking this one because it's a newer type. Okay, so this one has 25. So let's go back into here and view holds. We have here are all of the holds that have been requested for this specific title. And so we have 25 holds. Here are all of those titles. So we can see this one is ready for pickup, the current item. And this allows you to, if it hasn't been captured yet, you can find another target, show hold details, retrieve patron information, things like that. The shelf browse, this is basically the same thing as that shelf browse search option, but the search has already been done. So when you click on that shelf browse option or tab within a bib record, it's going to show those results without the actual like search because you've already done it. So if we go back to this record and go to shelf browse, it's going to show the titles that are around. Um, I don't recall if it is specific because we can see here it's that Zionsville's copy is being used as the target. So we can see everything that is falling before and after the 614.542 green. So again, this shelf browse also probably suffers from order issues, so just keep that in mind, but it could be useful. The default view, this can be helpful if you prefer to change which record view tab opens by default, which is normally the item table tab. So if let's say you want the staff view to show first instead of item table, you will select that tab, click set default view. And so the next time you open a search result, let's go here and go back to the Way of Kings. And let's click on here. It's going to open staff view instead of the item table. So it might be a quick and easy way to get to that summary information. Baskets. I love baskets. So what are they and what can we do with them and why do I love them so much? Baskets are temporary bins that allow you to store bib records. You are able to place a hold on multiple records at once. You can add records to a record bucket for those catalogers that might need to be or that might wish to merge some records. You can export mark records to a downloadable file, again for cataloging purposes most likely. And then you can also print and email title details. So where the basket is located underneath that default search or that default library selector. So it's next to the left of the search preferences option. When you add records to a bucket, you will check mark the result. And then as you check mark them, the number next to this little basket icon is going to increase. So here we have our second one, and now we have two here. And you can perform multiple searches, and your basket is going to remember what you have selected. Actions that you can perform. You can add all search results to your basket. You can only have one basket, by the way. So you can't, it's not like a bucket where you can have multiple buckets and add records to a different buckets. All of them are going to be added to the same basket. So keep that in mind as you go through and you might clear and want new baskets and things like that. You also have the ability to view all of the records in search result form. So So when you click, you've filled your basket and you click View Basket, it's just going to show all of those titles in that like a result format. Um, let's kind of, oh no, I do have a live thing, so we'll do it in a little bit. Place hold, again, you can place a title level hold on all of the records at once. Can be really helpful, especially if you are, well, wanting to place a hold on multiple titles at one time. It will take you to that place hold function while you will fill out your information or the patron's information. And then when you click place hold, it's going to systematically go through each hold request and tell you whether it's a failure or successful. Print title details will print the list of titles in the basket using the browser prompt. So you can see here you will have ISBN, title, author information, maybe some publication information, and that bib ID or that database ID. We also have the ability to email title details. Now, I tested this and it wasn't immediate when I clicked email title details. It's not going to give you like a thing that says email sent. It's not going to give you a notification about that. When I tried it and clicked on it, it seemed to duplicate my list. So like it showed like 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, etc. And then it started the list over again. I don't know if it's because I clicked email title details one too many times, wondering if it actually happened or if like it wasn't working because previously it didn't. You do need to have a valid email address on file. Um, because it's going to email the titles in the basket to the logged in account. So if you are wanting to email these to a patron, you will have to forward that email. Or they can log in to either the classic catalog or I'm sure Aspen has something similar to this. Um, but this is an option if you want to save what you have in your basket for later. Add basket to bucket allows you to add records from your basket into a record bucket. This could be for tracking specific records in a particular collection of yours, where you might use item buckets instead, or vice versa. Catalogers might use this for different cataloging functions, but you can add them directly, the entire basket, into a record bucket. Export records allows you to download the basket into a MARC file. This is useful for catalogers who need to maybe mass update some records with information, maybe subject headings. And then Clear Basket will manually empty the basket. It is non-reversible, and I already can't remember if it confirms or not, but it clears it. Remember, baskets are temporary. They will automatically clear if you log out or leave the catalog interface for after a period of time. I do not know how long that period of time is. Um, so if you are going to use a basket, use it in that session and then do what you need to do with those titles, whether it's place a hold, put them in basket or bucket, etc. Is anyone reading anything? So for me, example, I'm reading Two Twisted Crowns. So I have this title, so I'm going to select it. Notice how that my basket number increased by 1. Is anyone else reading anything? Delicious in Dungeon. Let's just grab this one. Looks like there are a number of copies. So I've marked that. And now we have 2 items. Let's do one more. Can anyone else give me a title? The Berry Pickers. So I'm going to check mark this, and now we have our 3. So basket action. So when we click View Basket, it's going to show our options. And then that show more details will update and then show that call number information like we saw earlier. If we go back into actions and click place hold, we'll fill out that patron information and then it will request all of those titles at once. Print title details, but my printer prompt has popped up and I can see the three titles listed to print. Email title details, again, there won't be any response. It won't say success for anything. Add basket to bucket. So if maybe I wanted to come back to these records later, I could do that here. I could either add them to an existing bucket or create a new bucket. And then clear basket, it does not give you a warning. And notice how these were now unchecked. We were viewing the basket, and when we cleared it out, all of these unchecked. So we could easily check these again, and that 3 returns because we now have 3 or 0 in there.